Good evening and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeremy and I'm continuing my Christmas themed baking for this week. Last week I started with fruitcake, so if you missed that, just go back one. And this week I'm baking some Christmas cookies, if you're American, or in South Africa we call them Christmas biscuits. So you'll see that as the video continues my shirt changes because I've been baking all day and I've already finished all the ginger biscuits over there. The ginger biscuits I've made are nice chewy ones. They're not the crispy ones, they're soft and chewy. And then at the moment I'm making what are called rock buns. Rock buns are spiced biscuits with raisins and with nuts. So you can see that I've got some done and I'm busy with the batch which is going to go in soon. So let's get started with how to make these recipes immediately. So in this bowl I have softened butter, sugar and golden syrup, and I'm just going to mix them. Once it looks like that, you can see it's all mixed. Once it's mixed, I'm going to add the bicarbonate of soda to some milk. With bicarbonate of soda, I'm always careful not to use any more than the recipe says, because if you use too much bicarbonate of soda, then whatever you're making tastes really bad. I'm going to mix it with the milk, and then I'm going to add it to the mixture. And I'm just going to mix that in. And next I'm going to sift in the dry ingredients. So this is flour and ground ginger, or fine ginger. Now the recipes always say you need to sift the salt with this, but my experience has been that the salt does not go through the sieve. So I generally add the salt after I've sifted this in. You'll notice that my amounts are a lot more than what the recipe says. That's because I'm making Christmas biscuits, and at Christmas time one makes larger amounts. So I've doubled up on what the recipe says. The recipe should get you about 60 biscuits, but I want to get 120. And I'm just going to add some salt, and I'm going to mix it until the dough comes together. Now once the dough starts looking like this, you can do one of two things. You can either keep on mixing with a spoon or you can start using your hands. And I'm going to go for the second option because mixing with a spoon makes your arm quite tired. So it's going to be easier to just make it come together with my hands. So you don't need to knead it. You just need to squeeze it so that it comes together and forms a biscuit dough. Now once you have a soft dough like this, the biscuits are ready to be baked. So I've got a bowl of sugar here. This is optional, but I like this. And I'm going to make balls, sort of the size of a golf ball, and I'm going to drop them into the sugar. Once you've covered your ball in sugar like that, you're going to put it on the baking tray. And you're not going to flatten them. So as you can see, I don't really have a knack for making balls. My balls are, I don't know what they are. I'm sure that one of my mathematical friends could describe them for me with a word that ends with something like gone. When you are putting them on the baking sheet, just be sure that you place them far apart because the biscuits will spread while you are baking them. Okay, and then once I have them all on a baking tray and I'm happy with how they are spaced, I'm going to put them into an oven that was preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to bake them for only 10 minutes. So the timer has already gone off, but I'm going to leave it in for a minute or two longer because those were too big. That's sort of the size they should be. So that's how they look when they come out. The next batch will be a bit smaller. They are very, very soft. They feel like cake. So I'm going to put in the second batch. And then ideally you want to leave them on the baking tray for 2 or 3 minutes till they get a bit hard. But I don't have that luxury because I have a lot more to bake. So I'm just going to remove them carefully. And I'm going to try not to dent them. And then I'm going to start preparing the next batch for the oven. Second batch is ready. Let's see how they look. That's better. You see, those ones are just rude. These ones are much better. So not the size of golf balls. Like if you combine two of those, you'd get a golf ball. Okay, let's put in the next batch. And I'll just keep on doing that until I've finished all the biscuits. So the ginger biscuits are finished, 158 of them. I think that should be enough. And I'm going to start with the rock biscuits. Now, for those of you who don't know what rock biscuits are also very good for Christmas. They have raisins, they have nuts, walnuts, they have some nutmeg. So it's all very traditional European or American Christmas flavors. But let's get started. So in this bowl, I have softened butter again, and I have some caster sugar, and I'm going to cream it. So if you don't like doing it with your hand, you can cream it with a mixer, but I'm a big fan of doing everything with a wooden spoon. So with caster sugar, creaming goes quicker because the sugar is so fine, and you basically just mix it until your mixture starts looking creamy. Then once you're happy that it's creamy enough, you're going to add your eggs. Make sure your eggs are room temperature, and you're just going to mix them into the cream mixture. Now you can see it's a very rich looking creamy mixture. To that, I'm going to add the dry ingredients. What I have in here is sifted cake flour, baking powder, salt, and nutmeg. And I'm going to do exactly what I did with the previous recipe. I'm going to start mixing with a wooden spoon. It's coming together quite nicely. And once you have that biscuit-like mixture, you're going to add the fruit and the nuts and just mix some more. You just want to mix until the raisins and the nuts are incorporated everywhere in the mixture, because you don't want to have some biscuits with raisins and nuts and some without. So I'm just using the spatula to make sure I get all the mixture off the side. So I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees Celsius. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop teaspoons full of the mixture onto the baking tray. So this is a teaspoon with a long handle like one uses for milkshakes. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little blob like that and drop it onto the baking paper. Now, you don't have to use baking paper, but I prefer baking paper because it never ever sticks. If you prefer, you could use butter or you could spray your pan, but with baking paper, it just always comes off. So my oven is ready. So the oven is ready. After 10 minutes, I'll have a look, and if they are ready, I'll take them out. Okay, so they haven't been quite 10 minutes, but let's have a look. So 8 to 9 minutes on 200 degrees Celsius. Let's go with 9 minutes. And you'll see these biscuits are quite big, but they need to be, otherwise you're going to get either a nut or a raisin. Okay, now I'll just go about preparing the pan again for the next batch, and then I'll show you when I'm finished. So the biscuits are finished. There are 158 ginger biscuits, and there are 100 rock biscuits. Now the amounts I put on the recipes, just remember, will not make this many, it will make half of that. I made big numbers because I made for my brothers and my family. For those of you who have never made biscuits before, these biscuits are really easy to make. When they come out of the oven, they're not hard. Even if you look at these chewy ones, they are hard now, as well as the rock biscuits, they are hard. But when they come out of the oven, they still feel like cake. And that is normal. Don't put it back in the oven so it can start feeling like a biscuit. It comes out soft. That's completely normal. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed the recipe, please like it. If you enjoyed my other recipes, please subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, please remember to turn on the notifications button. Next week, I'm going to show you some more biscuit recipes. I'm making 4 different types of biscuits for Christmas. So this is Christmas biscuits number 1, and next week will be Christmas biscuits number 2. Thank you again for joining me, and have a very good evening.